Hi friends, this is Audi1 and you're watching part 8 of sqli lab series. Well, today we would discuss blind based injections. For those who are watching this for the first time, it is recommended that you go back and watch the previous parts of the series. The links are mentioned in the description below. So let's start. For this, I have taken lesson 8. The default, we have to provide an ID with the parameter numeric value. So as we discussed earlier, we have to start with enumeration. So we get a message, you are in, as we got in the double injection. Let's try to break the query. Nothing happens. It just gets invalidated. We don't get the you are in on the screen. Let's try 100. Again, we don't get anything on screen. Let's try something, a string. We don't get anything on screen. Let's try double quotes. We don't get anything on screen. Let's try something else, a single quotes, an escape character, a double quotes, a bracket. Again, nothing happens. So technically, when we are trying to inject something, we don't get any kind of response saying that there was an error or a SQL query broke or something. Nothing is visible to us in form of errors, and nothing is visible to us in form of any kind of output from the database. So in this kind of scenario, how can we proceed with the injections? Like, first and foremost thing, we can never be sure of whether the injection exists on the page or does not exist. So it's totally blind to us. That is why these kind of injections are referred to as blind injections, because we are not seeing what we are injecting, or we just have to go with our instincts. We will not get any error message for our help which will help us build the query or something. So let's enumerate a bit. We say ID equals 1, it says you are in. ID 2, you are in. Let's do ID 3, you are in. ID 4, you are in. Let's go to ID 8, you are in. ID 9, we don't get a message. That means somehow there is a valid ID between 1 to 8, and as the ID is not valid, we don't get anything on screen. That means an invalid entry. So in this case, we have to try to guess the injection, how the injection could be. We have to totally guess what kind of query it could be, and then we have to reliably build and reliably test if we can utilize this to extract the database. Now, blind injections are classified in two categories. One category we call it Boolean based injections, and the other category we call it time based injections. We'll discuss both of them, but the first thing, we have to do some basics, plus the second thing, we have to try to guess the query. In this chapter, we will be doing Boolean based injections. So Boolean actually means a true or a false. Let's try to build a query. Let's say we have 1. So what we did in the previous chapters, we broke the query. So assume that the query gets broken, although nothing is visible on screen, but we are assuming something, that yeah, it broke and something happened in the back end, though the error is not visible to screen, but something happened, our assumption, and then we will fix the query. It worked. So just based on the assumption, we broke the query and then we tried to fix the query. Let's see whether it works nicely or not. Yeah, looks like it is working, but we have to be double sure of. Okay, so now we see that somehow we can iterate over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's put a 9 here to see whether is it correct or not. Okay, seems correct. But let's do another test. As we learnt before, that by breaking the query and fixing the query, we tend to make the left side and the right side. So the left side of the query or the left side of injection is 1 apostrophe, and the right side of the injection is the comments, and in between we can inject what we want. So let's use an AND operator. And 1. We can also type in and 1 equals 1, because 1 equals 1 will again evaluate back to 1. So making things simple, I just chose 1. So we get the same message, you are in. Now I'll change this 1 to 0 to make it a false statement. That means in totality we should not get any output. And we are good. Now we are sure of that what we are injecting as code is being injected and rendered by the server at the back end. But what benefit can this have to us? Can it help us or what? Because by just saying and 0 or and 1, okay, the code works, but what if we try to do a query insert, or let's say we do a query select table name from information schema dot tables, where table underscore schema equals security, or let's say the database. Where will it dump? We don't have anything where the information is visible on screen. In the previous chapters, we used the double query injection and we dumped the information in form of error. But here even the errors are missing. Okay, enough of theory. Let's do some practicals. Let's start our MySQL prompt and let's learn some basics. MySQL -u root -p tool. Use security, our default database. Okay. So before continuing any further, I would like to introduce to you a new function called length. We use the basic query select database and this should return us security back. Okay, it does. Now how big is this what is the length of security. So we can just encapsulate, or we can just enclose this in the length function. So we understand that it is 8 characters long. But still, how can this be helpful? We just have a Boolean that says and 1 or and 0. So either it's a true or it's a false. Well, we can use exactly this to dump the database. How? Let's see. If there is a way in which we can ask some questions, small questions to the database. So this time we are not going to say that give me the table name, or give me the database name, or give me the version, or give me anything, because in last examples we just gave this command to the database that okay, give me this, and the database just happily responded, okay, here it is, and we got it. But instead of doing it like this, let's ask database some small questions like, what is the first character of the database? Let's say, or rather than not putting it like this, let's say, is the first character of the database S? So database will reply true. Is the second character of the database A? The database will reply false. So is it E? True. So you got the concept. By changing the way we ask the question to the database can respond back. Let's do some more basics. There is a function to break up a string into subparts. It's called substring. It is available in almost all programming languages. So let's try that out here. Select database, so we have the basic query and we wrap it around in a substring function, substr. This substring function takes 3 parameters. One is the string, then where to start counting, and how much to count for. So it just returns us S. So if we can provide this query in our front end, and we say exactly this query, select substring database, 1, 1 equals S. It will say, yeah, it is. So it will return back true. So we will see you are logged in here. Else we will not see that. This looks cumbersome, that we have to iterate over each and every character. So to find each character, we have to maybe sometimes iterate 26 times. Well, that's true. But there are some ways to speed the things up. Instead of using the alphabets, if we use numbers, it makes life easy, because then rather than using the equals operator, we can even use a greater than or a less than. Let's see the use of greater than or less than. For example, we can say and 1 is less than 2. That is true. Is 1 greater than? False. So with the integers, it's easy for us to just assume many numbers and do a random and a quick query. So how can we do that? We'll use another function called sqli. It returns us 115. Let's check it on internet. In decimal, it's 115. So let's double check one more thing. The second character is E. So what would be the number returned for E? Let's check it. It should be 101. So if we see that we have a valid range between 97 to 122. Let's try it out. Correct. When we told our query that select this and start from the second character and count 1. So just choose the second one. So we got E. Same way we can get more. So now we are evaluating true and false. So is this query equals 101? True. Or we can say, is this query less than 101? It's false, because it's equal to, it's not less than. Let's try the third one and try to guess it ourselves. So this time we say, is the third character less than 101? It says true. Okay, let's make it 97 then. Oh, it became 197. And it becomes a false. That means a valid value lies between 97 and 101. Let's try 99. Again a false. Let's try 100. 100 is true. So the value is less than 100. And if we try 99, it becomes a false. So let's check it. And there we go. We get the third character to be 99. And let's check our ASCII table. and that's correct because C is 99. So this is actually the core logic for our blind injections. Let's refine this more, and we can just say, let's use another bracket inside and let's use a select. So it works. And we can just remove the database and we can say version, and let's start with the first character, and we know that we are going to check the version of MySQL. So major version is 5. So let's say select ASCII substring select version 1,1 is it equal to 5. It says no. But why does it say no? Can someone answer? Okay, I leave it to you guys to think it over. I'll get back to this in the next video. If somebody knows, please, or somebody understood why it is happening this way, then please write it in the comments. And let's come back and let's do this query inside the front end. Because it is AND, so we have to include another parenthesis to wrap this up, and we get you're in. And if we move it something else, 98, and we get a false. Let's try to enumerate a bigger query. We can maybe copy this over and do it in a notepad because it will make things easy, or let's do it here itself. That doesn't make the difference. Select table underscore name from information underscore schema dot tables, where table underscore schema equals database name. If I press enter, there would be an error coming out. We didn't get the output as we expected. Why? Because there are too many rows being returned. Limit 0, 1. To just speed this thing up, we know the first table name is emails. So the first character would be E, and E is 101. So let's try it out. This whole thing is, we can use greater than or less than sign, is less than 105. True, because you see you are in. And is it less than 99? False, because you don't see anything. 100, false. 102 is true. So let's try 101. False. So the value is between 101 and 102. So let's use an equal to sign to be sure of. And there you go. The first character of the table is E. Now you guys will be thinking that this is quite cumbersome and this is quite laborious. Definitely. But if you use tools like burp or zap or fiddler, then you can semi-automate the process, or you can even write your script that can just take the response from the server and parse it. This is the core logic of how blind injection Boolean based works. This is all for the video. Thank you very much. And guys, as usual, I would request you to leave a feedback. That will help me motivate and make more good videos. Thank you very much and bye-bye.